The president held yet another rally where people were packed close together despite the coronavirus pandemic after telling his supporters that virtually nobody is affected by a disease that has killed at least 200,000 Americans. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. The president has been traveling the country holding big rallies with people packed closely together, often without masks, and putting Americans in danger in order to make himself feel better. And remember, viruses get passed on, so he's potentially exposing people who aren't even at his rallies to the spread of coronavirus, all because the adoration of his fans soothes his ego. Just a tip, if you're a cashier at the Chick-fil-A closest to the rally venue, you might consider dressing like the bad guys from E.T. And by the way, this isn't hypothetical. We already know his rally in Tulsa led to a surge in cases there. At this point, Trump rallies are on the list of high-risk activities, just like doorknob licking, hugging everyone on the subway, and eating shrimp at the strip club buffet. And I'm not even really sure what rally attendees are getting out of it for all the risks they're taking. I mean, you can't even really follow what the guy is saying. Most of the time, he just stands there sweating profusely and complaining about things he recently watched on TV. His rallies are like karaoke night at the concussion ward. You could safely get the same experience FaceTiming with your uncle who lives in Boca and eats dinner every night at 4:30 at Red Lobster. You have to get there early so they don't run out of the Cheddar Bay biscuits. We love the Cheddar Bay, don't we, folks? For example, Trump often tells two kinds of fake stories. Stories about going home to his wife Melania after rallies, and stories about generals and other people who come up to him and call him sir. Obviously, all these stories are made up, but even Trump seems to have trouble keeping track of his bull because yesterday at his rally in Pennsylvania, he mixed them up.
Last night, now, I went home, and I tell you this, I go home all the time. First lady, how'd you like the crowd? Sir, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. But I didn't see it, Donald. I didn't see it. Sometimes she'll call me Mr. President, but she's only kidding, believe me.
Your wife calls you sir? Are you married to Marcy? And if so, Marcy, what are you doing? Stop pretending to be something we all know you're not. While I can enjoy Trump forgetting he was telling a fake Melania story and slipping into a sir story, I do wish it was the other way around. Chances are most people at a Trump rally think a wife should call her husband sir, but none of them would be okay if a general called you darling. This general came up to me, big guy, tough guy, hands like frying pans, and he took me by the shoulders and said, darling, you were great tonight, and then gave me the tiniest kiss on the lips. A pair of butterfly wings. Why is blood coming out of everyone's ears? The truth is, Melania doesn't call you anything. Not sir, not Mr. President. Maybe a you again. I doubt they've spoken at all during the last 4 years, except for maybe that one time they were leaving the White House and he pointed at a puddle. You know, it doesn't do anything for her, it just points at the puddle. Did your marriage counselor recommend finding things you both have in common? Oh, look, water. Melania likes water. I've seen her drink water. You know what? I'll point at it. Point at it, she doesn't miss it. You know, it's hard to believe just yesterday that was Frosty the Snowman. Tragic loss. Tragic loss of Frosty, but it is my constitutional right to appoint a replacement for Frosty, and I'm happy to announce that our newest addition to beloved Christmas mascots is Bird the Penguin. That's the first time I'm putting eyes on Bird, and I feel like the graphics department did a really nice job. So Trump says that his wife calls him sir, but sure, Joe Biden's the one in cognitive decline. I've never heard Biden make a mistake like that. And the one time he did mix up his wife and his sister, he immediately corrected himself.
By the way, this is my little sister, Valerie, and I'm Jill's husband. Oh, no, this is oh, you switched on me. This is my wife, this is my sister. They switched on me.
I mean, sure, it would be ideal if it hadn't happened at all. But if that had been Trump, he would have insisted he was right. Why are you laughing? This is my wife, Melania. Sir, I am the vice president. Come here, Melania. Let me give you a kiss. Oh, Melania's icy tonight. And the Melania story mix-up was still probably the most coherent thing he said. A weird dynamic has developed with Trump where he routinely says some of the most depraved, authoritarian things the president has ever uttered. And as a nation, we mostly just let him pass by without comment. We treat him like a guy handing out leaflets on the subway. I wouldn't be surprised if, at the first debate, Joe Biden just put in earbuds and started playing Minecraft on his phone. For example, on Monday at another, one of his coronavirus cough-a-thons in Ohio, Trump told his supporters that virtually nobody is affected by the coronavirus, as the total number of deaths in the U.S. hit 200,000.
It affects elderly people with heart problems and other problems. If they have other problems, that's what it really affects. That's it. You know, in some states, thousands of people, nobody young, below the age of 18, like nobody. They have a strong immune system. Who knows? You take your hat off to the young because they have a hell of an immune system. But it affects virtually nobody. It's an amazing thing.
Imagine standing there and listening to the president tell you who dies from a virus and having it describe you to a T. It affects old people with heart issues, maybe diabetes. You know, people who gather in large groups without a mask. They're certainly in the danger zone. Must be such a weird drive home. Hey, honey, you think my pacemaker counts as a heart issue? But yeah, man, it's an amazing thing that nobody's really affected by this deadly and highly contagious virus. I'm sure all those people died just to make you look bad. I heard they were deep state Antifa terrorists paid for by George Soros to stop breathing. They're probably not even dead. They're probably all hanging out on Antifa Island talking about how much they love socialism and fake news. The president is a deeply sick man. Usually when you hear someone talk like that, they're being fitted for a Hannibal Lecter mask or holding the sign in Times Square. Coronavirus isn't real, de Blasio is an alien, the moon is following me, every time I turn around, it's there. COVID is currently the third highest cause of death in the U.S. 200,000 people have died. Many more could die in the coming months, and the president is out there telling people 6 months in that virtually nobody's affected. Just because you're not affected doesn't mean nobody's affected. You're safe because you and everyone around you get tested every day and you get the results back instantly. Meanwhile, regular people had to wait in their cars for hours like they were lined up at a toll booth trying to leave New Jersey during the third quarter of a Jets game or a Giants game. They're both bad at football. I say that risking the fact that the Giants are the team all the security guards like. Also, one more thing. It's not true the coronavirus only affects the elderly and people with pre-existing conditions, but even if it were, that's like half the population. It's like if an axe murderer was on the loose and the cops were like, don't worry, it only affects sexy teens taking showers. And Trump knows better. He knows better. Remember, he told journalist Bob Woodward in those taped conversations that the coronavirus is actually very infectious and very deadly and didn't just affect the elderly. In fact, he went out of his way to say young people could get sick too.
It goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. You know, the touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. So this is deadly stuff. This thing is a killer if it gets you. If you're the wrong person, you don't have a chance.
This is a monster. This is a scourge. And
it is the plague. Now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob. Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older.
Yeah, exactly.
Young people, to plenty of young people.
It's amazing how different he sounds in private when he wants to impress someone he thinks is important. It's like seeing Larry the Cable Guy in a fancy restaurant wearing sleeves and holding forth on wine varietals. Trump almost sounds normal. It's like a local news story where a guy gets hit on the head with a paint can and becomes a genius, except Trump probably got hit in the head with a golf ball after shanking it in the woods and ricocheting it off a tree. Coronavirus is a hoax. On the other hand, I did read a double-blind, peer-reviewed clinical study that suggests aerosols are a more concerning vector than fomites. Did I say fomites? I meant
Yosemites.
Remember? We forget, but that also happened. Hearing Trump on the Woodward tapes is like seeing the original Homer Simpson. It's a completely different person. That's Homer? I thought that was Walter Matthau. Sal Gentile writes some trenchant political commentary, but he also got that old Homer joke in. So we know that Trump is at least capable of understanding the deadly reality of the virus, which makes his lies about it all the more psychotic and criminally negligent. He knows people will die, and he's telling them not to worry anyway. He's President Big Tobacco. Anyone else doing that would get sued or go to jail. If an auto manufacturer told people their car was perfectly safe, even though they knew there were no airbags and the brakes were 50-50, they'd get in trouble. Of course, if they just called it a Maserati, 40% of the country would rush to buy it so they could own the libs by driving off Freedom Cliff. The simple fact is that sane people who have spent any amount of time with him know Trump is a deeply disturbed individual with no regard for human life, who doesn't care about anyone or anything unless it can enrich or empower him. We keep hearing that same story over and over from people who worked for him, quit, and called him unfit for office after leaving. Every 3 days, there's another book by a former administration official, and not one of them has been titled, "He was very nice, and that was fine." I mean, think about how many people have left Trump's inner circle or his administration and basically said he's a sociopath who's incapable of doing the job. It can't be a coincidence that all these people worked with him but now hate his guts. Like if you were a manager at Best Buy and 50 of your employees quit, and they all said it was because the new guy, Brad, kept putting pictures of his butthole up on the 4K Ultra HD TVs, your reaction wouldn't be like, well, I guess they're leaving because they're Walmart fans. Take, for example, Olivia Troy, a former advisor to Vice President Mike Pence, who worked on the coronavirus task force. In a recent ad for Biden, Troy explained that she quit because Trump didn't care if people died from the virus, including his own supporters.
The truth is, he doesn't actually care about anyone else but himself. He made a statement once that was very striking. I never forgot it because it pretty much defined who he was. When we were in a task force meeting, the president said, maybe this COVID thing is a good thing. I don't like shaking hands with people. I don't have to shake hands with these disgusting people. Those disgusting people are the same people that he claims to care about. These are the people still going to his rallies today who have complete faith in who he is.
I'm surprised Trump ever shook hands with his supporters. He's a wealthy germaphobe who lived in a golden penthouse and traveled everywhere by limo. Of course, he was disgusted by interacting with normal, non-rich people. Even before the pandemic, he probably finished his rallies and then sent Mike Pence out to shake hands in a Trump disguise. I really don't want to do this, sir. Then maybe you shouldn't have been so stingy with your kisses. Maybe you're starting to regret that choice now. Republicans are in lockstep behind this guy, all so they can win and maintain power. That's the corrupt bargain they've made. Back an unrepentant criminal sociopath who's overseen the preventable deaths of hundreds of thousands of Americans, and in return, they get a conservative supermajority on the Supreme Court that could destroy Obamacare, rip up Roe v. Wade, and invalidate the results of the November election if Trump loses. That's their plan. They do not care about the pandemic. Inside the Trump White House and the Republican Party, the COVID death toll
Affects virtually nobody.
This has been a closer look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV/AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask. We love you.